All right, guys, Rich here from the RCNetwork.com, bringing you another exclusive unboxing. Today we have the Arrma Nero 6S BLX. This is their newest four-wheel drive brushless monster truck. Now, in 2015, Arrma really amazed us with all of the new platforms. Of course, they had the Typhon, the Talion, the Kraton, the Centon, all capable of 6S. Well, now they have this giant monstrosity here, the Nero. Now, of course, Nero, the famous Roman chief back in the Roman Empire, and I guess this definitely holds its course with a huge monster truck here. Now, they are calling this 1/8 scale, and I will have a new video out here soon showing this truck compared to lots of other trucks or buggies that you may be a little bit better aware of, or a true 8 scale buggy versus the Nero, which is an 8 scale monster truck. Now, there's lots of 1/10 scale monster trucks out there, and I'm really happy to say that this thing is just ginormous. I mean, I did take a peek at it and was able to really sum up the size. So in this unboxing, we're going to be going over all of the specs on this thing, what this whole Diff Brain is, everything you get inside the box. Now, of course, Arrma is offering this in the Diff Brain version, and then they also have one that does not have the locking differentials. Now, the Diff Brain basically locks out all three differentials in your choosing. So you can lock out just the center, you can lock out just the rear, you can lock out any combination thereof. So the remote is a very nice tactic remote to where you can actually lock those diffs from the remote, which is pretty cool. So let me get this thing out of the box. I will be right back. All right, so I got everything out of the box now, and before we get into this thing here, that giant 1/8 scale monster truck, still kind of in awe by the size of it and just the appearance of it in general. But let's go over some of the boring stuff here. What you also get inside the box of this cool new monster truck. So you do get kind of like a spreadsheet here of how the thing operates, and it really gets into details on if you unlock all three differentials, what the blast is. So they have all four segments, or the four beast modes, if you will, and just the characteristics of each one. They also give you an array of different option parts that are available, including like different heavy duty CVDs, different machined steel, it looks like spur gears, wheelie bars, all sorts of different things that you can get for the Nero. So right here, we do get a very nice thick owner's manual. This thing is like almost a 1/4 inch thick, and it basically gives all sorts of detailed items in here, going through from the remote, all sorts of different languages and everything you'd want in a very premium remote control vehicle. Now, one thing that's different from Arrma is they actually give you some decals. So they're definitely advertising the Diff Brain, and that's pretty much what this whole sticker sheet is about. Next thing here, they also give you, and this was actually attached to the bottom of the vehicle where the batteries load in. This is the minimum requirements for the battery. Now, you're going to notice that it does take XT90 connectors. I'll show you those in a minute here, but their minimum range is 3,000 milliamp, 35C, and then they recommend at least 4,000 milliamp to run this vehicle. Now, of course, this is either 2S or 3S compatible, but you need 2 of each of those batteries. So you're going to be running those in series, so you'll be running 4S if you have two 2S batteries, or 6S, which is kind of the recommended one here, if you have 2 3S batteries. So I picked up a couple of 5,000 milliamp batteries with the XT90 connector just to save me some time as I start. So as far as minimum or maximum requirements, 176 in length, 36 in height, and 50 millimeters max on the width of the battery. So keep that in mind if you are ordering some batteries for this. You do get some spare parts here. Looks to be some pinions. You get a 24 and 23 tooth servo horn. You get some blank pistons as well. I may have said pinions there ahead of time, and then you also get some spacers for the pivot ball suspension and just different increments. So they're different widths and whatnot. So nice that they're giving you that. You do get these XT90 connectors. Now, what's really nice about these is you can attach this to either your batteries, or you can make charge leads for these. So pretty nice that they're giving you a set of connectors. These are, I believe, either 5 or 5.5 millimeter bullet connectors. They are, polarized, so you can only connect them one way, which is really nice. And then some pieces of the shrink tubing as well. You do get some spare screws. I need to read what that is all about. Get a whole bag of tools here, including that huge 17 millimeter wrench right there. You get like a 6 millimeter hex, and then all the way down to like a 1.5. So everything you need to work on the vehicle initially. 17 tooth pinion gear, and this is for the speed runs to get up to that claimed 60 plus mile per hour that's on the box. This comes pre-installed with a 15 tooth, which is recommended for off-road riding or off-road running. So the 17 tooth is pretty much for smooth surfaces only. Here is that kind of maximum performance spreadsheet that is pretty much good on all Arrma vehicles. So right here, like I said, 15 tooth is recommended, and that's what's pre-installed. That'll get you up to about the 50 mile per hour on 6S. And then, of course, the 17 tooth, that'll get you that sheer speed up to that 60 mile an hour. So, if you break it down, one tooth is about 5 mile per hour on 6S. So then, of course, with the 3-time diff control, pretty cool. Some other information there as well. So looks like this is in kilometers. So 80 mile per hour out of the box, and then 95 plus with the 17 tooth pinion gear. So, and last but not least, we also get an additional skid plate. Now, this goes on the underbelly of it, and you kind of see that there's actually some cooling ducts here to cool the motor and whatnot. So, enough of that. And last, I think this is the actual last thing, the TTX300 remote. Now, this is very familiar with some of the newer axial vehicles, and of course the Arrmas and some of the other ones. But what's so unique about this one is you do get that diff control switch up here, kind of right where the dual rate usually is. So you do have all 3 locked, center and rear locked, a center only lock, and then wide open on all 3 diffs. So it's pretty much just a click wheel that goes through all of the functions. But otherwise, great remote, great feel to the wheel. You do have steering dual rate, throttle trim, steering trim on the reverse. Here you get the reversing switches, oddly enough, power switch, and this runs on 4 AA batteries like any remote these days should. Well, let's get to the Nero. All right, well, the overall appearance of the Nero 6S BLX is just absolutely amazing. 1/8 scale monster truck. So this is like Arrma's new flagship vehicle. I mean, this is the top end of what they're offering, and it definitely shows in what you get inside the box here. Now, of course, being a 1/8 scale monster truck, it is massive. I mean, you have 3.8-inch wheels on this thing. The overall body and length of everything is just huge, and I wanted to give some real-world measurements of this thing. So the overall length right here from bumper to bumper, we're looking at right around 22 inches. Wheelbase, we're looking at 15 inches, and then the overall width of this thing, we're right at about 18 inches in width. So, I mean, pretty massive vehicle to say the least. So, what's so unique about this thing is actually what's under that body here. Now, what's really cool is they actually give you these kind of hinged little attached body clips, which I'm just a huge fan of these days. I mean, it's so hard to keep track of body clips sometimes, and working on different rigs, it's nice that they're going to just be attached to the body here. So the overall body, pretty lengthy. I mean, like I said, super lengthy. I really dig the colors on this thing. I'm a sucker for blue, silver, white, and black. If you followed any of my videos, that's pretty much what my rigs get painted up in. But overall, nice body. This is a screen printed body, so not not really painted, but it's done pretty well. So it seems pretty thick where you want on a monster truck on the cab, which is typically where you end up landing if you're not such a great driver. So nice grill there, very fast looking. So overall in the rear, you got a huge long bed. I mean, scale wise, this looks like an 8-foot bed, but super nice. So right here is what is so cool about this Arrma Nero. I mean, just look at that thing. I mean, you can drive this thing without the body and it still looks damn cool. So I have some ideas here coming up for this thing, and I think you guys will be amazed at how this thing turns out. Now, the first thing you're going to notice, this is done on a twin vertical plate chassis. So you have two aluminum plates running right here in the center, or vertically on the chassis. So underside is going to be all plastic, but they do have lay down shocks on these, so you can kind of see the lay down shocks here in the front. Here's the rear ones right here. Very non-traditional. Now, of course, lots of people are screaming e-Revo, and that is definitely what this is. So definitely has that e-Revo style of shocks, or what's called a cantilever shock. So when you actually push on the suspension, you have this cantilever arm, and that actually activates the suspension. And I mean, there's just huge amounts of suspension all the way to it bottoms out and then all the way back up on the up travel. Huge, nice rig here. I'm still in awe just looking at the way this thing looks. I mean, it has everything built in. I mean, it's just super nice. Right here, you're looking at those giant XT90 connectors, super nice. New speed control for Arrma, also a new motor. We're going to get into that here in a second, but wanted to kind of give you a spin around of this vehicle here. I mean, just look at that thing. It just looks awesome. Nice switch mounting placement right there. Really short body posts, which is nice. I mean, they're super thick. I mean, they appear to be like a 1/4 inch in diameter, so they're not going to break off. You know, no issues with that. Right here, as we spin around to the front of it, you can kind of see the oncoming look of it, kind of the nose bridge right there. I mean, it looks very, you know, like a dinosaur almost. I mean, it just looks cool, like a skull of a dinosaur, and really nice. Right here, you do have 4 kind of fog light looking things. It looks like they are ready for LEDs. They just have the little snap deals back there. You can drop LEDs right into it. Shouldn't be an issue. Give the spin around here to the rear. That's the other side here. Now, this does use 2 battery slots on either side, and they do drop in from the bottom. Very unique battery loading system on this thing. And right here, let's get to the very rear. You can kind of hear that motor clicking right there, and that nice torquey motor. So right there's the rear on it. Looks like no LED buckets in the rear, but very nice overall. So let me go ahead and get a bit better camera position, and we will take a look in depth. I found another unique thing about this Arrma Nero. I removed these 2 body pins right here, and actually the kind of cab of this item pulls off, and you're able to get to some of the electronics here. Now we have the receiver box, and we also have the new 200 amp ESC. Now, previous in the Creighton, Talion, Typhon, and Centon, they used a 180 amp ESC. They've since replaced that with a 185 now in the new versions, but this is of course bigger, being that the Nero is bigger than everything else, using a 200 amp ESC. Now, the motor on the far side here, it is a 2000 kV motor, super torquey, and it appears to be a little bit longer in length than the old 2050 kV motors that we saw in the previous 6S models. Shocks here, they are aluminum red anodized bodies. They appear to have plastic caps, at least that's what I'm feeling here. You can always feel the coldness of aluminum. Super thick springs right there, and they are mounted in that cantilever style. So super nice. XT90 connectors, like I said earlier, that's kind of like a 5.5 millimeter post, I believe. It might be 5, I might be mistaken. Huge bullet connectors here connecting from the ESC to the motor, and we have a huge capacitor bank here for that 200 amp ESC, so appears to be really nice. Seeing other body clips down here, this thing all seems to be kind of you know, integrated into each other. So right here we're seeing the aluminum twin vertical plate right there as well. It appears to be kind of like a red anodized. Now what's really unique about this vehicle are the battery trays. So kind of has like saddle packs right here for either side. Has this cool little feature here where it has a button, and this actually releases the battery tray. So right here, once it's pressed all the way down, and we heard it click right there, and it drops down, so you're able to put in that large, huge battery on each side. It does have a adjustable foam spacer in there, and then foam protection all the way around. So pretty much you can put in about a good 5,000 milliamp stick pack battery inside there with no issues whatsoever. So all the way up to a 3S sized pack. Now on the driveline, this, of course, is the adjustable diff version, so I do have servo actuated differentials on both front, center, and rear. So that is an additional item on this particular version. But if I flip this thing over to the other side here, we're going to lay it on its back here. Thing is heavy. That other skid plate I showed you in the beginning, that would actually go, that's kind of like a different one. I'm not sure if it's just different or I need to read up on that, but this basically goes right here. So a little bit different looking one, has kind of different snorkels and vents and whatnot. So anyways, that is that option part that was included. Now as far as the arms, huge monstrous arms here, we can kind of see how large they are. I mean, 2 inches right there and a good 5 inches. This rides on pillow ball suspension on all 4 corners, so you do have adjustable turnbuckles here for the steering, but otherwise your camber and other adjustments are done by the pivot or pillow ball suspension. So nice new drive shafts here. These are aluminum splined CVDs on all 4 corners. Super nice overall. I mean, they appear to be very beefy, very much like almost like an MIP style splined drive shaft, but they do use aluminum instead of like a heavy duty steel. Aluminum will just reduce the overall rotational weight. On up here to the front, pretty cool little item here as I try and flip this massive thing around. You can kind of see in here these little vents going into the battery compartments here, and that's basically to keep that battery as cool as possible. We don't want anything overheating on the Arrma Nero. So mounted deep within the chassis here, we do have the servo, which is the same servo that we found in the Creighton, Centon, Talion, and Typhon. It is the ADS 15M. Claims to have a little bit over 200 inches of torque, and it does move at a speed of 0.16 seconds transit time. So it is somewhat centrally located here in the chassis. This is going 4 on the vehicle, and there's a large kind of servo saver right there, kind of like a knurled adjuster right there. Aluminum as well, red, and it does have a pretty long servo arm that goes right here. So should be a pretty decent servo. 200 inches is actually pretty decent for an RTR. 0.16 is a little bit slow, but I think it'll definitely get us started running this Nero 6S. The tires on the Nero are a D-Boots design Sand Scorpion. They're based on a 3.8 inch wheel, pretty large tire overall, kind of like a monster truggy sized tire. The grip is pretty decent, definitely a rubbery feel, but definitely a harder compound. I think this will do excellent on any type of asphalt. On a loose packed soil, it'll do pretty decent. So I can't wait to get this thing out and running. Now, as far as the hubs, we are running on 17mm hubs, all on 4 corners, pretty decent and pretty standard for a 1/8 scale rig. So overall, the Arrma Nero 6S BLX is a huge vehicle. It definitely has all of the features that I would want in a monster truck. It is four-wheel drive, it has adjustable differentials, it has huge amounts of suspension, it has metal parts where I'd want metal parts, huge wheels and tires. I mean, overall, just a awesome vehicle. I cannot wait to drive this thing. Literally, when I hit the stop button on this remote, I am going to drive this thing. I said remote, I meant camera. But overall, Nero 6S BLX, I applaud Arrma for coming out with so many different vehicles lately. They're pretty much on the brink of the bashing market, and I think they're doing a great job. Well guys, that's it for now. If you have any comments or questions about this Nero 6S BLX from Arrma, please post it on down below, and as always, thumbs up and subscribe. That's it for now guys. Over and out.